Hello people, how are you doing? Welcome, my name is Adam, this is Memento Mori. Today we're doing the mid-year book tag, okay? I was tagged by Richard over at Richard Reads. Thank you, Richard, for the tag. I'll link him down below. And I'll also link the video. I did this same tag last year around the same time. And it's a fun tag because it's kind of a quick snapshot of some of the highlights of your reading year, you know, at the halfway point, okay? So there's 15 questions. We're gonna run through them very quickly. Here we go. Question number 1, the best book you've read so far in 2017. I'm gonna be a real basic bitch and say The Sound and the Fury by William Faulkner. Question number 2, the best sequel you've read so far this year. Kind of by default, I'm gonna say The Two Towers by Tolkien. Finally read The Lord of the Ring The Lord of the Rings in its entirety earlier this year. I'd probably say The Fellowship of the Ring, the first part is my favorite, but as sequels go, The Two Towers was great. Question number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet but want to. I'm gonna say Lincoln in the Bardo by George Saunders. I did read my first Saunders this year with 10th of December a few months ago, and I thought it was okay. It was definitely enough that made me want to pick up more by Saunders, and of course Lincoln in the Bardo is his new release. His first full-length novel, and it's a book that, you know, is going to be on every year-end list by every top critic as, you know, one of the books of the year. So I'd like to get around to it sometime this year. Question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Of course, as all Cormac McCarthy fans, we're all waiting for his 11th novel, The Passenger, to be published. We're hoping that 2017 is the year. And if only for the reason that The Passenger, are you ready? I hope, Steve Donahue, I hope you're watching. The Passenger is supposed to be, I think, a 2-part novel that infuses elements of sci-fi, okay? And if there's one thing that's gonna throw Donahue off his rocker, it's the combination of Cormac McCarthy and sci-fi. So I'm just awaiting that breakdown with, you know, urgent glee. So yeah, The Passenger by Cormac McCarthy. Let's hope this is the year. Question number 5, biggest disappointment. That's going to be The Refugees by Viet Thanh Nguyen. Really humdrum collection of short stories that just didn't do it for me. Question number 6 is the biggest surprise, and I'm going to say A Reader's Manifesto by B.R. Myers. And this is taglined, what's the tagline? An attack on the growing pretentiousness in American prose, where B.R. Myers, in a very short kind of work, tears apart the work of 5 modern American authors, including Don DeLillo, Annie Proulx, David Gooderson, Cormac McCarthy, and Paul Auster. And it's it's a very kind of vicious attack on not only those authors, but the critics who kind of herald them. And it's a great, entertaining little book. You know, even if I don't necessarily agree with all his opinions, it's definitely worth the read. And, you know, for example, you know, I love Cormac McCarthy. I know I'm not totally like blind to a lot of the criticism that he receives, and I even agree with a lot of it. But I did think B.R. Myers' particular take on McCarthy was pretty weak. But some of them, like he goes after Annie Proulx and Don DeLillo. He rips Don DeLillo a new one, and I was kind of there for it. But yeah, whether you like those authors or not, and whether you agree with him or not, it's an incredible little piece of work, especially if you're into, you know, critical reading and critical reviewing. It's a little gem of a book. Question number 7, favorite new author, debut or new to you? Didn't have a huge pool of authors to pick from for this. I haven't read a lot of new ones, but I am going to go with Dennis Cooper. I read his book, The Sluts, a few months ago, and yeah, he's a very salacious, very exploitive author. I'm looking forward to kind of checking out what else he has to offer. Question 8, newest fictional crush. Question number 9 is new favorite character, and I'm going to say Anne from Valley of the Dolls, okay, you guys? And Valley of the Dolls, of course, is a tale of 3 women trying to survive in a world of men and, you know, show business and drugs. And there's 3 main characters. So on one side you have Neely, who is kind of the natural born star, you know, with all the talent. And then on the other side, you have Jennifer, who is, you know, the gorgeous one of the three. And she doesn't really have any talent, but she, you know, she's drop dead gorgeous. And then in the middle, you have Anne. And Anne is both beautiful and pretty talented in a multitude of things. And as someone who is ridiculously good looking and moderately successful at a lot of different things, I obviously could relate to Anne on a lot of different levels. And it also helps that we're both completely dependent on barbiturates. Question number 10, a book that made you cry. I can't think of a book in the last few years that have really made me cry. But I think probably the closest this year would be The Stone Diaries by Carol Shields. And I got a little bit of flack in a video where I described The Stone Diaries as being close to what we would call an old lady book club book, okay? And I hope, you know, I didn't mean that to come across as, you know, an insult, because I love to indulge in that kind of area of literature quite often. And I'm often on the outlook for those good old lady authors that I can really kind of, you know, snuggle up with. And you know, last year I was trying to get into Anne Tyler, who is definitely one of those old lady book club authors. And I don't know if Anne Tyler's for me, but I think Carol Shields might fit in there. And yeah, I loved The Stone Diaries. Question number 11, a book that made you happy. I'm gonna say The Beautiful and Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Definitely not, you know, the most happiest of stories, but you know, there is a certain level of delight that comes with Fitzgerald's writing. Question 12, favorite book to film adaptation. I couldn't think of one really that came up for me, for this year at least. I guess the closest one would be Wonder Woman, which I saw recently, but that movie was okay. You know, I think people blew out of proportion how good Wonder Woman is, because I understand there's this great need for, you know, a multitude of reasons why they want Wonder Woman to be a good film, but it's just okay. I think people forget that we truly are living in, you know, the garbage age of cinema, and all these superhero movies are horrible, right? And so yeah, when you stack Wonder Woman up against the rest, you know, especially it's the 3 DC movies that preceded it, it's pretty good. And even next to Marvel, you know, they're all kind of these paint by numbers, boring films. Yeah, Wonder Woman's okay, but it's by no means a great movie. Like, come on, people. Question number 13, favorite review you have done this year so far. That's got to be a review I did of Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard, which is the first in a part of a series of videos I want to make related to kind of the books that make me, and the books that will stick with me, you know, through the long haul. And I got such a great reception from people after I posted that review, and I just wanted to thank everyone for so much positivity attached to that review that I did. And I am going to continue that series. I actually am going to do the next one, episode 2 of the personal library, coming up here in July. So yeah, I'll put a link to that one down below as well. Question 14, the most beautiful book you've bought or received this year, and a stack of books that I both bought and received from the help of a couple of you, so thank you for those who helped me complete this collection. But it's the entire collection of William Faulkner's novels in the Library of America editions. You know, once I decided to do the Faulkner read-through this year, there was no way I wanted to track down, you know, 19 of his novels. So yeah, having these Library of American editions have made it very easy, and they do a beautiful job. You know, they make these very clean designs. You know, all their editions match each other. They're always good at picking the best text of any given novel. So yeah, it's nice to have all his novels kind of in a compact, nice little collection, and they look beautiful on, you know, on the shelf. And finally, question number 15. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Again, I'm not really into super planned reading, but obviously with What the Fuck, I do have 11 more Faulkner novels to read, you know, in the next 6 months. I also have the Decameron, which I mentioned in my last video, which I'll be running a read-along of in September, so we have that. And then I have a few more Faust-related pieces of literature, and Faust being the famous German legend. I think I mentioned in a previous video, kind of slowly during the year I've been checking off some literature related to that. So I have 3 out of the 4 planned Faust reads left. So other than that, it's up in the air and no real set plans. As for who I'm going to tag in this, I'm going to tag Rachel Louise Atkins. I love that woman. I'll link her down below. I'm going to tag Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings. I love that woman. I'll tag her down below. And I'm going to tag Kate Howe, who I also will link down below. I love that woman. I love them all. I hope you're all having a good day. I'll talk to you soon.